up my life in spirit and truth, pouring out the oil of love as my worship to you. In surrender I must give my every part. Lord, receive this sacrifice of a broken heart.
Jesus, what can I give? What can I bring to so faithful a friend, to so loving a King?
Hello, everyone. This is an Arcola Bible Church podcast, and I'm your host, Mark Kelpscoff. What can I give? What can I bring? And that's a difficult question when you don't know how much you have or when you're deep in debt. A problem that Peter Hutchins will be addressing in just a minute. I Will Offer Up My Life, a song by Matt Redman, sung virtually there by Sutton Coldfield Baptist Church. Now, Jonathan Jezuraj has our verse for the day.
Luke 16:11. Therefore, if ye have not been faithful in the use of unrighteous wealth, who will entrust the true wealth to you?
Thank you, Jonathan. I always thought that if I had more money, it would be easier to give. But Jesus told us otherwise, and I think I can confirm that truth by experience. Today, I'm talking to Peter Hutchins about 7 baby steps to get a grip on your finances, and in this episode, we'll talk about step 1 and 2. Last time, we had been talking about the big problem of college tuition debt.
It's a relatively new concept of student loans. When I went to college, of course it was in the dark ages, but I never remember being offered a student loan. I don't even know that it was something that was around. And
right.
Nowadays, they're very eager to give you, at 18 years old, $20,000 or $30,000 a year, which really adds up.
I mean, I'm the same way in my generation, but I was in college in England, and there, depending on your parents' income, the government would give you a grant.
Oh, wow.
And my parents weren't very wealthy at all, so actually the grant, if I was careful, was enough to actually see me through the whole
nice.
period of college. So I didn't come out of college with any sort of college debt. But yeah, it's very different from my kids here who are still paying off. It does strike me that a lot of these things, it's not just so much tomorrow I will do this step. There seems to be a kind of a heart change that has to go on. It's like you have to actually step up and have a whole mental heart. Your core of you has to sort of get on board with this, right? Is that true?
The mechanism or the actual doing of it is only 10%. Like I'm actually putting money towards my debt or actually making a budget or any of those types of things. The other 90% is your motivation or your heart to want to change. And once your heart is in the right place, the mechanism or the actual doing of this is relatively simple.
Right.
But until you get your heart headed in that direction, you never really think it's a good idea, because I hear a lot of people say, well, I just don't like numbers. I don't like figures, or I don't like having to figure stuff out all the time. And I say, well, if you're not going to figure it out, then your debtors, or the people that you owe money to, they're not afraid to figure it out, and they will figure out a way to get more money out of you. So, you have a choice. You can say, I don't want to deal with it, and they're happy to take your money. Or you can say, I have other purposes in my life than paying interest to a large bank. If I get somebody going in the right direction, the mechanics of it are easy. Honestly,
okay.
They're very easy. It's just, like I'm saying, for 20 years in my heart, I was saying, budgeting is stupid. Budgeting is a waste of time. And my wife was saying, why won't my husband listen to me? Because I know what I'm talking about.
So encourage us now, okay? You've given us, if we follow these steps here, there's definitely a very positive goal. There's peace, there's a relaxation, there's no worry in the back of our head all the time.
Right.
And we're also not wasting a lot of energy and effort earning money that just flies out
Right.
our bank account for no good reason at all, right? So these are all great things. So I'm looking forward to now. Let's get on with the steps. So
Okay.
how should we start?
The first baby step is to say $1,000, just $1,000 in your savings. But the first $1,000 is what we call a starter emergency fund. So you say, oh, $1,000, that's just not enough money to do much at all. The average American has less than $600 cash in the bank. The $1,000 is really to see where is your heart at, and are you committed to this? And by putting that $1,000 away, it's a step towards realizing that, okay, if something goes wrong, like my tire blows out on my way to work, I have $1,000 in the bank. I have money to pay for that without going to a credit card to pay for the tire blowing out. Now imagine the difference in the tire blowing out when you say, oh, I have $5,000 in credit card debt at 20% interest, and that I have to now add another $300 to because I don't have any cash, versus having $1,000 in the bank. And I say, well, I will just take that $300 out of the bank. I'll give it to Firestone Tire. They will fix the tire. I will be on my way. And I haven't incurred any more debt. I just paid for it and I moved on. The next goal you have is to rebuild the $300 that you took out. But guess what? It wasn't an emergency anymore because you had the money.
Right.
Before, you might have had to decide, am I going to eat or am I going to pay for a tire? Changing your mind to say, I'm going to have money for emergency, or I'm not going to have money for emergency. It's kind of the choice that you're making.
All right. So this is putting us to the test right up front. We're going to have to deny ourselves, obviously, to get to this goal. So I'm going to have to say, okay, that new, and everyone can fill in what it is. For me, it might be that new tool I want, that new drill set, or the new or the latest phone.
iPhone.
Is going to be cut off the list. I'm going to have to make do with my current.
For now.
Yeah.
But $1,000 is not that much money. So $1,000, a lot of people will say, well, that's not enough money to do anything. Then I say, well, then it shouldn't be so hard to save because it's only $1,000, right?
Yeah.
I think that it's more than you think it is.
So let's say I'm on board with this. I'm going for the goal. I'm going for peace. I'm trying to get this burden off my back, and I'm going to look at what am I spending? I'm going to cut out the subscriptions and the things that I don't really need, and I'm going to add that up and see if I can quickly deny myself so I can get to that $1,000. All right.
So it's interesting that you say that, deny yourself, because that's exactly the way I thought about budgeting. I have to deny myself this and deny myself that, and so on and so forth. When I say, actually, a budget is freedom, because when I put the money, my paycheck, into the budget, and I say I have $50 to pay for food, I don't have to go to the grocery store and say, I wonder how much money I have for food. I know I have $50. So I'm now freed up to spend that $50 for food. So to me, the way I used to look at budget was, the budget's going to restrict me. I can't do anything. Whereas now I look at it and say the budget frees me up, because when I put the money into the budget, that gives me the freedom to buy whatever I want to buy within the confines of the money that I put into that particular department in the budget. So I look at that and go, well, before I didn't know if I could buy clothes. Now I know I have $100, so I can buy $100 worth of clothes. Before, I just sort of guessed. I didn't know. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. I don't know. So that's what you would do after you save this $1,000.
Yeah.
Then I would say, start to prepare a very simple budget, and take the money that you make on your paycheck after taxes and all that. Take that money and divide all of that money up into different categories. And there's a great program that I use called Every Dollar. And you can go in there. It's so simple to use. And you basically budget out every single dollar. And now you know. And if you have money left over, guess what? You can use that for baby step number 2.
All right. Okay. So I've created a simple budget on every dollar, and
That's what I use. Yeah.
I'm getting excited, and I can see that I'm beginning to get some money, and I begin to accumulate my $1,000 emergency fund. All right. What do I do next?
I do recommend that the next step is to make a budget so that you know, first of all, what money you have. And then it also helps you keep track of how much you spend in each category. So many people, if I said to them, well, how much do you spend every month? They have no idea. How will you know how much you need if you don't know how much you spend? So when you put a budget together, it takes about 3 or 4 months to really understand your budget and understand if you put the right amount. It's a very much of a trial and error type of thing. So you might say, oh, I only need $100 for groceries, and you spend $150. So you go, well, that was wrong. Let me change it to $150, take the money out somewhere else. So a lot of times people give up after the first month because they say, well, I didn't do that right. And so I say, just keep spending what you're spending, put a budget together, spend what you're going to spend, and see how it lines up. Then the next month, you modify it. Now you might discover in budgeting that you're spending way more than you make. Wow, what a revelation. I wonder why I'm still in debt.
Right.
So making a budget is really important if you're going to understand how much you really spend.
Okay, so there's some pretty obvious logic there that we reckless spenders prefer to ignore. But all is not lost. 7 baby steps, how hard can that be? Peter will be back 1 week from today with the next steps. On Wednesday, Don Stone will be encouraging us to leave our bubble. Join us then, and we'll see how we can begin getting some salt into the world.